What's up guys, Mr. SLIN here with another video about Team Fortress 2, and today's video is about class tier lists in Team Fortress, and I'm so excited to make this video for you guys because it's been on my mind, but I haven't actually had the time to make this video, and the timing of it isn't really ideal because the Pyro update is supposed to be coming out soon. So if you guys are watching this video is made on June 8th, 2017, so if you're watching this and the Pyro update has come out, well, I'm sorry. I'll probably make another video that revamps the tier list so that way it gives you a better idea of top to bottom. But before we, just like getting through all the explanations of the tier list, let me just show you the tier list because I hate watching videos that take forever to talk about the tier list. Let me just give you the tier list from the beginning. No fancy infographic here. Classic MS Paint. We've got tier 1, Medic. Tier 2, Scout, Soldier, Demo Man. Tier 3, Sniper. Tier 4, Heavy Engineer. Tier 5, Pyro and Spy. Now, the way you read this tier list is top to bottom, left to right. So, Tier 1, and every single tier is like significantly better than the tier below it. So, I would way rather have a Medic than a Scout on my team, for example. And I would also way rather have a Scout than a Demo Man, but Scout and Demo Man are pretty close in value because they're sitting in the same tier. Does that make sense? So I actually want to make this video kind of interesting to look at, so please look at this, memorize it, and then I'm going to move it over here and head into a game of Team Fortress so that way you guys have something to look at while I do this. I'll make it a live commentary. But I think the important part to consider when you're looking at this tier list is that it's designed for people who are playing that specific class at the highest skill level in the current game. Okay, so it doesn't really, it transcends game type. So I'm saying that like it doesn't matter if you're playing 6v6 at the invite level, or you're playing 6v6 matchmaking competitively, or you're playing casual, or you're playing 4v4, or you're playing ulti duo. Like, well, maybe not ulti duo, but it doesn't really matter which game mode you're playing. I'm saying generally speaking, the way the classes are designed right now, these are the strongest classes right here from top to bottom. And I'm very happy as a Medic main to report that Medic is the strongest class in the game right now. But at the same time, it saddens me that it's so strong because I really enjoy games where you can have like complete, like full DPS setups. And it's not like Overwatch, where Overwatch has a bunch of different support classes. And so because Medic is so strong right now, you have to run a Medic in every team composition. Like, that's the state of the game at this point in time, is that Medic is so ridiculously strong that if you're not running a Medic on your team, you are significantly, like very much at a disadvantage to the other team. If the other team runs a Medic and you're not running a Medic, the chances of you winning go down like tremendously. And it really saddens me that it's at that point in the game right now where like Medic is just that strong. Now, I understand how we got here because Valve had to make Medic very strong because people don't really want to play Medic. That's the problem. A lot of, like, I'm one of the minority. I'm one of the few people in the game who actually enjoy healing, who actually enjoy being a support class, who actually enjoys not killing anything in a game that has amazing gibs, that has amazing, like, explosions and all this stuff, and I'm sitting here behind someone else who's having all the fun. So I kind of understand why Medic is in this situation right now. Even if you look in the pubs, this is not a good example because there's no one in the server, but generally speaking, most people are not playing Medic, so that's why they have to keep buffing Medic. I just wish it wasn't the case. I just wish that, that Medic wasn't so strong here, but that is the case right now. When a Medic can not only make you invulnerable, or give you Crits Krieg for 8 seconds, or quickly heal his teammates, even though he can't protect himself, as we see right here, it's still very strong, especially in team environments. So that's the first part of the commentary that I want to give on the tier limits, the tier list. Sorry. The other thing I want to say is that this tier list really isn't designed for casual play. Like, I'm assuming that invite players are in a casual server playing, not that casual players are in a casual server playing. Does that make sense? I think Medic in the right hands is amazing. Medic in the wrong hands is terrible. That said, I think Medic is so easy to play. It's actually, Medic in the wrong hands is actually still really good. But for example, in tier 2, I put Demo Man as like one of the top 4, like in the upper half of classes in the game right now. And I think for a lot of lower level players, they really struggle with Demo Man because he's like indirect damage class. Like in a lot of ways he is direct damage, but it takes some getting used to it because you have to shoot and then you have to like there's a delay and then you right click your stickies, and I feel like there's some prediction involved there that a lot of brand new players will just struggle with. So I feel like Demo Man in the right hands is amazing, but in the wrong hands it's not. And same with Sniper, which I put in tier 3. Sniper is so powerful, like ridiculously powerful, like even better than Scout if you were hitting your shots. The problem is most people don't hit their shots. I think at an invite level a lot of people are still hitting their shots, but that's what I'm taking into account right now. I'm not saying if a robot was playing these classes, here's the best classes from best to worst. No, I'm saying realistically speaking, if a top level player is playing these classes, this is how they stack up. And right now, even though Sniper has the greatest potential for damage per second, it also, I think a lot of people struggle with it, and consistently hitting headshots is difficult. You could go for just charged body shots, but that's not really going to give you the map control that you need to really be dominant that you need on Sniper. So Medic is clearly number 1. Sniper doesn't fit into tier 2 because it has issues with consistency. Let's go to the bottom of the tier list where I have Pyro and Spy. And I think the fact that the Pyro is getting a rework soon is definitely necessary. That was the right call to rework Pyro and not Heavy, because Pyro's in a weird place right now where his damage per second is definitely on the lower side. Not as low as Spy's. Spy's damage per second is insanely low, like just terribly, awfully low. That, you know, especially in low population servers, like we're playing in a 7 versus 7 server right now, the Spy's like damage per second is so low, you really can't use him. Especially when compared to like, you know, Scout, for example, which has much higher damage per second in low player population servers. Spy, really, really not good, but Pyro is right next to there. I mean, the problem with Pyro is that he's got a short range weapon that is inferior to the minigun. And even though he has more mobility than the Heavy, he doesn't really have a good way of putting out fast burst damage. Although it's kind of nice to just like light everybody on fire, or if you run Backburner to sneak behind everyone and just start critting people. You know, both classes struggle. If you're running Backburner Pyro or if you're running Spy, you have to flank, get into a position where you're surprising everybody, and then once everyone realizes that you're there, they simply turn around and nullify your presence. So I feel like, you know, when you're running Pyro, you really have to run Degreaser right now, and that kind of puts Pyro in a defensive position where he's kind of holding off the flow of people. He's kind of holding off the damage that's incoming, and he's not really actively putting out damage per second, and that's what makes him so low on the tier list. Because what you're really looking for is a class that can not only put out a lot of damage per second, but also has the crowd control capabilities that you need to succeed. I think that Soldier's crowd control capabilities are just as good as Pyro's, if not better. Plus he has the mobility, plus he has the damage per second, plus he has like just so much health compared to Pyro, right? I just feel like that's a straight upgrade right there. Pyro compared to Soldier is just not even close. And yeah, I just think that's Pyro just sucks right now. He just really, really sucks. He does have a flare gun. He does have the ability to light people on fire. The problem is, even if you were lighting people on fire constantly, that might be like putting out damage, but you're kind of just spreading out the damage. You're not concentrating the damage in a short amount of time to quickly burst somebody down to get the kill. And when you're playing at the higher levels of the game, when you're playing against people who are experienced, you need to kill them quickly because, again, the medic is just too strong. And that's the issue with a strong medic, is that he's so strong that unless you kill someone quickly, he simply crossbows you a couple times and you're at full health again. So unless they nerf medic, it's gonna make it harder for Pyro to do his job. Does that make sense? If the weaker medic gets, the easier it is for Pyro to do his job. And that sounds obvious, it probably is, but I think it's worth stating. So Pyro and Spy, really, really weak. I don't know if I went much into Spy, but I think it should be pretty obvious. He's a class that relies on surprise to get kills. If you run him as an ambassador Spy, which is possible to do, he's just an inferior version of the Sniper. So you might as well be running Sniper. So the reason you run Spy and not Sniper is because you're going for a pick. It's known as a pick class. A pick, for those of you guys who are new to the game, is a kill on an important class that you wouldn't be able to kill otherwise easily without being able to go invisible. So it's that backstab on that medic. It's that sneak surprise attack that the medic is surrounded by 6 of his teammates, but you just somehow get in there and stab him in the back, and then you immediately die. That's a pick. And that's the one thing that Spy excels at. Again, they just make sure. The problem is low damage per second, low map control. Like, he spends most of the time invisible. It's like you don't even know that he's there, but he's not scaring you in such a way that you're like, I'm scared to go over here because there might be a spy. Like, that's not the case at all. Hold on, voice enable 0. Like, you're never gonna say, I'm scared to go over here because there might be a spy. You'll say, I'm scared to go over there because there's a sentry gun, but I'm not scared to go over there because there's a spy. And the spy, because he has such low map pressure, it's just the weakest class by far. I think they did a good job by buffing the spy recently, improving his movement speed, but they really need to make him a lot stronger to make him viable. The problem is, if you make Spy too strong, suddenly the entire server is filled with spies. And I'll be walking around this hallway seeing absolutely nobody, like maybe bumping into invisible people like that. It just makes for a really boring game. So I think the Spy, unfortunately, will remain the weakest class in the game for a very long time. I'd be very surprised if the Spy ever makes it to tier 4. I predict that he remains in tier 5 in perpetuity unless he gets a redesign, which he doesn't need because Spy is already very fun in its current state. No one out there is thinking, oh man, Spy is really boring. And it's an amazing class for like players who are brand new to the game because they can walk around the map without getting shot at. And that's just fun for players who are new to the game. Like, if you play heavy, everyone's gonna shoot at you. But if you play Spy, I can just walk around hunky-dory and I can at least walk around the map without feeling like I'm getting destroyed. I was a Spy main when I first started playing for that reason. I can imagine a lot of people are for the similar reason. So let's move on from there. Looking at the other tiers, Engineer I put into tier 4, and I think people who main Engineer kind of understand that weakness of Engineer. If he only uses his shotgun, he's an inferior version of a Scout and an inferior version of a Shotgun Heavy. I mean, yeah, he has a little bit more movement speed, but the weapons, the unlocks available to Engineer right now just make him an inferior Scout on paper. So the benefits that you get as an Engineer have to do with the team play. The supportive buildings that you can drop down to give your team map control, to give your team like faster access to the front lines through the teleporters, to give them an unlimited supply of ammo, but only in certain locations. And I think that that's where the Engineer really is lacking, is that the amount of utility benefit that he provides is just so weak. Like, I debated putting him in tier 5, but the reason I elevated him above the Pyro is because he has much better area denial than a Pyro does. See, a Pyro's job is to defensively deny a single choke point, maybe 2 choke points at most, by air blasting. And Pyros are easily overwhelmed by numbers, by sheer numbers. Engineers have a much better time of dealing with sheer numbers because it's basically 2 players in one. You have a sentry gun and you have the Engineer itself. And that alone gives you much more map control than just the Pyro by itself. Plus, even though because of his slow speed, he has difficulty, and low health pool, he has difficulty getting into good positions to use his shotgun, he can still use his buildings as bait. So like, people will oftentimes shoot at the sentry gun before they shoot at the Engineer himself. And so I think that it just gives him much more power than a tier 5 class. So I think the Engineer has use, but it's not really good in most situations. What Engineer can do, sorry, let me rephrase. The Engineer gets stronger the more people there are in the server. So if I'm playing in a 12-on-12 server, Engineer gets better. If I'm playing in a 4-on-4 server, the Engineer is very, very bad. And the reason that happens is because all of the Engineer's buildings scale like with server population size. So the more people that are using my dispenser, the better the dispenser is. The more people that are on the server, the more people there are to use my teleporter, and that provides that marginal benefit that I'm providing is exponentially better the more people there are in the server. And I think that's an important thing to consider when you're balancing Engineer. I think the Engineer will always remain in tier 4, just like how I think that the Spy will always remain in tier 5. And the reason that's the case, oh man, mistimed crit creep. The reason why the Engineer must remain underpowered is because he is a static defense class. Static defense classes, in my opinion, if the game is designed properly, static defense classes should always remain at the bottom of the power levels when it comes to class balance. Because imagine if Engineer was not a tier 4 class, but it was instead a tier 1 class. Then everyone would play Engineer because it's the strongest class. And then what you'd end up happening is you'd have this situation where everyone's just setting up sentry guns and turtling. And that the entire game would turn into a turtle fest. It would be the most boring shit you've ever seen. Nobody wants that. So Engineer, like, by definition, must remain a bit underpowered. I think the one world where you can make the Engineer more powerful is by nerfing the static defense aspects of Engineer while buffing the utility aspects of Engineer. So an Engineer that I could see getting more powerful over time, for example, would be to like nerf the sentry gun, aka Gunslinger, and then you give the Gunslinger Engineers a level 4 dispenser. Or the dispensers on Gunslinger Engineers heal 20% more per second. Or the teleporters on Gunslinger Engineers recharge 20% faster. Like, obviously, it doesn't have to be 20%. You have to tweak the balancing on that. But the general concept is my static defense is getting weaker, so my other class attributes are getting stronger. And that's where you get into the design of the Scout, right? The Scout has no static defenses, so his movement speed, his scattergun damage, like all of that stuff is just better than the Engineers. For those of you guys who don't know, the scattergun does a little bit more damage than the Engineer shotgun. And I think that's good design. Actually, if you look at the tier list, I'll pull up the tier list once again so you guys can see it. The classes with the most mobility are at the top of the list, and the classes with the least mobility are at the bottom of the list. And I think that's good. The slower classes getting stronger would make the game slower in general, and I think that what makes Team Fortress a fun game is that it does have some good speed to it. It does have some good movement. It does have, I'm playing Dust Bowl, but it does have this kind of fluidity to it that I think is what makes the classes different and unique and interesting and fun. So now that I've kind of hashed out the bottom 4 classes, I do think that the Heavy is deserving of an update. So again, I think Spy should always be tier 5. I think Engineer should always be tier 4. But I don't think that Pyro and Heavy necessarily need to be tier 5 and tier 4 respectively. I think that these classes can get buffed. They can be modified to become more of a tier 2 class. That's possible. Or at least tier 3. I think that these classes can at least become tier 3 classes with proper rework, with proper design. Again, I have issues with static defenses. So Heavy being the slow turtley class, I don't want Heavy to become a tier 1 class because everyone's just going to be a Heavy and just walking around the map as a slow turtley. Like, it just sucks. So yeah, Heavy will probably have to remain at most a tier 3 class, but should remain in tier 4. Sorry, I'm getting a lot more into class design and I'm not sticking close enough to the current metagame. But I think it's worth saying that I do think it's worth noting that the way that certain classes are designed, you'll never see certain classes getting out of certain tiers. And likewise, I think that's the reason why you'll always see Medic as a tier 1 class. Maybe it won't be in a tier on its own. Like maybe Medic will not be alone in tier 1 forever. Maybe another class could make it into tier 1. But it always needs to be a tier 1 class unless they introduce additional support classes into the game. Now, I have made other videos about this topic. I think you could have other support classes in TF2 if you design weapons that way. So, for example, a Sandwich Heavy could be like a burst healing medic. Does that make sense? Like if you made Sandwich Heavies not able to use the shotgun or the minigun, but he just threw sandwiches the entire time. Like that would be kind of an interesting class. That could be a tier 1 class. If Engineer had no sentry gun, but its dispenser had significant reach, or like the Engineer could carry the dispenser around and heal like AoE healing, That would be another cool class that I think could be an interesting support class for Team Fortress. I'm just throwing out ideas out there that those are other classes that could make it into tier 1 because you need to make those support classes strong. All right. Or the healing classes strong, I should say specifically. So tier 3, I've discussed Sniper a little bit. I just want to go into more detail, even though I've already talked about it a little bit here. I do think that if someone were to train hard enough as a sniper, if someone were to become good enough as a sniper to where they're hitting headshots like 95% of the time, I actually think Sniper's a tier 1 class. So not possible with a human being, let's say, but maybe like with an aimbot, it's a tier 1 class. Like that's why you see people who play, people who hack, people who cheat, play Sniper because it's the tier 1 class. It dominates the battlefield right now. I've seen heavies been able to do it decently, but not as good as Snipers can. Like Sniper is the best class to hack on, hands down. Actually, Scout is a very good class to hack on because even though he has a low health pool, if you're hitting consistent meat shots at mid-range, you're hitting like 80 damage shots from a range that most projectile classes cannot even touch you. So it's actually a pretty good class to hack on, but the problem is that most low-level players just don't have the movement. So like even if you had an aimbot, they don't have the movement required to be able to dodge or position themselves properly. And that's what makes Scout so difficult, and I think that's another reason why Scout should remain in tier 2. The reason why Scout is so powerful right now is because he can get buffed up to 185, which is a pretty decently sized health pool. And he can also do tremendous amounts of damage. Scout is kind of that glass cannon class that is much more consistent than Sniper, much better at map control, much better at area control, and the Scout is the hard counter to the other tier 2 classes. The Scout is superior to the Soldier in open areas because he can jump on props and dodge rockets, and the Scout is superior to Demo Man because even though he sucks at long range and Demo Man is much better at long range, the Scout is able to dodge and weave, and if he's able to get a buff and get close to your face as a Demo Man, you're a dead man. So, and same with Sniper too. So that's why Scout is just so dominant in the current metagame. In low population servers, Scout is king. In higher population servers, I'm talking like 24-man servers, 32-man servers, Scout gets significantly weaker. Like on a map like Dust Bowl, yeah, Scout kind of sucks. And I think that's why you take this class tier list with a grain of salt, because he's not all. You can't like say like, oh, Scout's always better in every single situation. But in the vast majority of situations, Scout is definitely the best class right now. I think what makes it like the reason why you don't see everyone playing Scout in your casual servers these days is because the more people there are in the server, the harder it becomes to play Scout. And it's the exact inverse of Engineer. Engineer becomes better when there's more people in the server. Scout becomes worse when there's more people in the server because his low health pool really starts to harm him. And he doesn't have much utility in the way of getting around that. He has Bonk, which it doesn't really solve the problem. It doesn't give him more health. It just helps him get out of sticky situations or get himself past sticky situations. The pistol is an awful weapon in terms of damage per second at long range. So you're not really using it for kills. You're using it for a cleanup to do like, 40 damage and finish off a kill. That's what you're using it for. Like I couldn't play Scout in this situation unless I need to like bonk past that engine and that sentry. So not really gonna work there. That's why you don't see Scout a lot. But I think that, if I were to play another server, like let's say if I hop into like a payload, I think Scout's really, really good in payload right now. I think Scout's really, really good on 5CP. Obviously, the best in King of the Hill. Like Scout's amazing King of the Hill. So, and CP stand-in. CP stand-in. I don't know what is that, like a domination map, like a control map. That's there you go. Okay, and then finally, I ranked Soldier above Demo Man because, as you saw in the Soldier versus Demo Man War update, it's just an easier class to pick up and play. It's direct damage, so where the Demo Man has like shots and then damage happens. soldier damage is like instant. And I know that doesn't make much sense because if you look at a demo man's pipes, pipes are also direct damage, just like the soldier's rockets. But with pipes, it's much harder to hit those. And I feel like the soldier's toolkit with the rocket launcher just works really well. Like he rocket jumps into good positions and then he rains down rockets onto you. Whereas like a demo man is not going to sticky jump into good positions and then rain down pipes onto you. It doesn't work the same way. The splash damage and the juggling capabilities, the crowd control, the AoE splash that soldier provides makes him a much better option than a demo man. Like if I were in a server and I had to choose between a soldier and a demo man, I can only choose one, I would choose soldier every single time. Soldier is the best class right now in close quarters combat. So like anything like a tunnel like this, my rocket covers 70% of this width of the tunnel. It's just so good right now. And that's why the direct hit isn't used very much, because you're robbing yourself of that crowd control capability. But that's the one place where Scout is lacking. Scouts suck in choke points. Soldiers are amazing in choke points. Demo Man are also pretty good in choke points, but he has so much ammunition to reload. That's his weakness. And that's why a Demo Man can have really high damage per second. But Valve, within the last year or so, nerfed Demo Man's damage to bring him in line with Soldier, with Scout, and that's where Scout just really pushed ahead. Because Demo Man used to be the number one class in the second tier, but now Demo Man is fallen to last place because of the nerfs that they made to the sticky bomb launcher. All right, I've already been talking for a long time. I love talking about Team Fortress. You guys know that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for future updates, for more discussions about Team Fortress 2. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I want to know what you guys think about this tier list, specifically about Pyro, because I do believe, like if I look at this tier list once again, I do believe that Heavy belongs in either tier 3 or tier 4 in its current design, but I do believe that you can rework Pyro to become a tier 2 or tier 3 class. I'd love to see Pyro become a tier 2 class, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys think that he should become a tier 2 class, right, as good as a Scout? Like, would you want to see a lot of Pyros running around the map? Or would you rather see him as a tier 3, tier 4 class that is... It's possible to use it, but it's not god-awful in its like it is in its current state. Like, I would love to see it be... what's it called? Like, useful. What's the word I'm looking for? Someone post that as well. Like, I don't... What's the word I'm looking for? It's like a good class that's usable. Dang it! I wish I had the word right now, because, like, I don't want it to be the strongest class in the game, but I don't want it to be the weakest class in the game. Really want that word. I'm gonna like end this video, and I know this word's gonna come to me, and I'm gonna be so mad at myself. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.